Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Acanfora, and welcome to the Health and Wellness in Bayonne show. Today, I'm excited to have Keith Rennar Brennan on the show.
Thank you very much.
Keith is a hypnotherapist.
A hypnotherapist.
That's fantastic. I've read a little of your bio, and it's fascinating the careers that you've had.
It actually is, yes. I hate being pigeonholed into one career, apparently.
Obviously. So the first question I ask guests when they come on, Keith, is tell me how you got here, other than driving, down the block.
Right, exactly.
Tell us what brought us together.
Well, first, I was a fashion designer in Bayonne with my wife. We had our own fashion design company for 25 years. So
Okay.
we manufactured ladies' sportswear.
Fantastic.
Everything from casual to, at the end, couture and evening.
Awesome.
But in that being said, after 9/11, I became very interested in a holistic kind of healing modalities and really trying to find something that I was passionate about as far as healing and trying to expand my horizon and go into a little bit different direction than fashion.
Absolutely. So what was it? Was it 9/11 itself, that tug that you felt?
Yeah, I had the feeling that, people were in need and were searching at a point in time when they wanted more than they needed to find a healing place in their own lives. And a friend of mine actually came into our store. Actually, I had said, I had made a plea to the universe, let me find something that I would really be just as passionate about as I was with the fashion industry. But I wanted to do something else, and I wasn't sure what.
Okay.
So I said, let it be the first person who walks into my store, and let there be some kind of sign.
Oh, that is hysterical.
It was a woman who came in who I used to, provide all of her wardrobing.
Sure.
And she became a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
And started talking about it. And the more she spoke to me about it, the more intrigued I became.
Well, that's fascinating.
It was.
So let's dive into this a little bit. Tell me about hypnotherapy.
Well, first of all, I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, which is much different than a stage hypnotherapist, which usually involves, some alcohol and a different venue altogether.
Absolutely.
With clinical hypnosis, it's used to treat everything from guided visualization for disease. I've had all kinds of different clients. Of course, smoking cessation is very popular.
Absolutely.
Weight issues, very, very important to a lot of people.
Sure.
I've worked with people who were suffering from stage fright. I worked with a singer who had a beautiful voice but was petrified performing in front of the public.
Okay.
I've worked with a tennis pro who wanted to improve her game. I
love
had a choreographer who worked for MTV, but yet she was very, very nervous about teaching a large group of dancers.
Okay.
So it's been used for all different kinds of interesting.
It's funny because Charlie, who's doing the boards for us today, he asked me, what does a hypnotherapist do? And that's what I said. It's, it's clinical. It's very...
Right. I could explain it a little bit.
Sure.
We have two minds. We have our conscious mind that we're using right now to speak with each other. And we also have a subconscious mind. So with hypnosis, it's a process of getting the client to relax deeply enough so that they are receptive to allowing suggestions to become their new belief system or their new reality.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
And I love that. And that's stuff that we talk about within the confines of health and healing all the time.
Exactly.
Because what do they say, that it's so many percentages conscious, but the majority of it is subconscious.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like more and more people are becoming aware of different modalities of healing, like Reiki, and they're using hypnosis in hospitals now. Actually, some years back, Bayonne Hospital had an outreach program called Bayonne Crossings on Broadway.
Yes.
And I used to do a smoking cessation group and also weight, and I had a lot of different group hypnosis.
That's great.
Yeah. So.
And that is, from my reading, you get fairly good results for smoking cessation and hypnosis.
I'll tell you, the thing is that you really have to want to stop smoking. It can't be that your wife wants you to stop or your children. It really has to come from a place of you really wanting it. Sure. Because my job is to provide 10% which I am the guide that can guide
Yes.
you through it,
Yes.
the 90% is using your own subconscious and using the tools that I teach you
Yes.
during a session.
Absolutely. And as somebody who practices chiropractic, what we try and tell our patients when they come is we're going to partner with you.
Exactly.
But we're going to give you some tools, just like you're saying.
Yes.
And then you've got to take those tools and apply them.
Exactly.
As opposed to coming in for a Band-Aid fix for a bad back.
Absolutely.
And the person being 30 pounds overweight. And that's
Yes.
the real issue.
Exactly.
So talk to me, Keith, a little bit about the education that you had to go through.
It was intensive. It was probably over the course of 3 months, and they were intensive weekends.
Yes.
That it probably involved like 10-hour days.
Yes.
And then you get your certification for hypnosis. Then there's also an advanced clinical hypnotherapist. So
Okay.
then I would go for further training.
Wonderful.
So yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how. So you've been doing this since 2001.
Yes.
Do you see clients at their homes or at your office? What do you do?
I've done both.
Okay.
Years ago, when I had my fashion design company, I would close the door at 6 o'clock, and then I rented a suite in Bayonne off
Yes.
Broadway, and I would see clients every night.
Okay.
I did that probably for about 3 or 4 years,
Sure.
and then kind of got burnt out myself.
Oh, absolutely.
So now I'm still in the fashion industry. I work for a luxury retailer.
Yep.
However, I still see clients on my days off and evenings. I see them sometimes in their homes,
Sure.
sometimes in my homes. And I also work sometimes out of an office in Bayonne,
Okay.
a Reiki master who has allowed me to,
Oh, that's wonderful.
to do that as well.
How is it? We were just talking about. Is there a connection between Reiki and hypnosis?
Well, there is actually,
Okay.
because both works with getting through energy blocks that we have in our
Okay.
system. So in that respect, yes, I would believe so. And also, a big part of Reiki and also hypnosis is really the trust that you have. And you would know this as
Sure.
a doctor.
Sure.
It's really all about the relationship between you and your therapist.
Absolutely.
So there's an enormous amount of trust that the client needs to have with me
Sure.
to know that I have their best intention at mind, and we
Absolutely.
can work within the moral boundaries of what they said. It's all about what
Absolutely.
they want.
What they want.
So,
Absolutely.
a session with me would probably go something like the first 15, 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I talk with you to see what intentions you really
Yes.
want to bring about, and then we delve into the session, and that's about another hour and 15.
Wow, that's pretty
So,
intense.
yeah.
It's a long
It
session.
takes some time to really get a client to really get to that level of relaxation, and that's
Sure.
really what it's all about.
And that leads to the trust part. Like they've got to trust
Exactly.
you that you're having their best interests at heart. And people, as we know, people put up these walls,
Exactly.
and you've got to help to break those walls down.
That's very true, and
Yep.
and the whole point of hypnosis is to get to the core initiating event that caused whatever whatever energy block you're trying to work.
Now this is fascinating. Now I have to sit up because I have like 2 or 3 viewers, one of which is my mother, and she says you got to sit up, stop slouching. So I'm going to sit up for this. There's a medical doctor in Germany. He practices what's called New German medicine, and what he says is, with all disease, there is a triggering event that occurs
Yep.
that opens the doorway for disease to occur.
Absolutely, and I believe that very much so. I know
Yep.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
And often, if you go back six months before the development of an ailment,
Yep.
you should look at emotionally what was
Yes.
happening in your life that could have helped it.
100%.
So, yeah.
So when I was just talking off camera with your wife, we were talking about how my wife had cancer, and I was familiar with this medical doctor's work, and we pinpointed when I brought it up to my wife, it was like one of those aha moments. We lost our first child when my wife was pregnant. And that was the psychological trauma
Absolutely.
that triggered
Yes.
that cancer.
Yes, yes.
9 years, this was in 2000, 7 years previously.
Yes, yes, and I firmly believe in that whole concept. It's so true.
It's
It really
fascinating.
is. So with someone like your wife or another person perhaps that has an illness, what I would do would be to regress them back to that point of
Yes.
that initiating event, and then reframe their thinking around it.
Yes.
So that it's no longer an emotional issue with
Absolutely.
them. You know, dis-ease, which I'm sure you know, is
Yep.
your body just not being at ease with itself.
Absolutely.
It's not at ease.
Correct.
And it invites all type of illnesses.
100% true.
Yeah.
100. You know, if Western medicine got that, we'd be in a much better place. But
Yeah.
that's too new age for them.
Right.
Even though chiropractors have been talking about dis-ease for
Yes.
100 some odd years.
Yes.
The interesting thing is we did some of that work together, and she was able to recognize that if, let's say, that child had been born, we wouldn't have the life we had today. We would not have the children we had. So she saw the value in it.
Exactly.
And that's when she knew she would be fine.
Right.
And that's when she knew going in, this is going to be okay.
Yes. Yes.
Which is remarkable.
Yeah. No, it truly is, and that's even with. I don't do it so much, but even past life regression,
Sure.
which a lot of people find very hokey, and you know they're not sure if it's real or if it isn't. However, there are doctors like Dr. Brian Weiss, who was head of psychiatric in Columbia University, and when he was really one of the pioneers with talking about regressive therapy.
Okay.
But the idea is that if you could regress the person back, even into a previous lifetime, you can, it's just the acknowledgement of it
Right.
sometimes that relieves the
That's
symptoms in this life.
Absolutely. That is enough to
Yeah.
trigger the healing.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So are there certain things that you'll do in your clinical practice to help somebody relax, or to, are there certain methods or?
Yeah, you know, in the beginning of my career, there are certain scripts that you can
Okay.
kind of learn and go through. Now I don't really use that or
Sure.
need to do that anymore. So the way the session would begin, again, we would talk about what your intentions would be for probably the first 10, 15 minutes.
Sure.
And then I would have you close your eyes. I work with background music, and you listen to the sound of my voice guiding you and
Sure.
the sound of the music, and I relax you from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes.
Fantastic.
And believe me, at that point, after about 30 minutes of listening to the sound of my voice guiding you,
Yep.
you're at the point where you're able then to implement the suggestions that I'm giving them to you.
That's fantastic.
And then I seal them in your subconscious
Yes.
mind. I also, you know, a lot of people have sleep issues nowadays too.
Yes.
So I always incorporate sleep work and how
Sure.
to really be able to get into that really deep level of sleep where healing
occurs.
Occurs, exactly.
Absolutely. And,
Yes.
you know, growing up here, I tell people, we didn't step outside in the morning, take a deep breath and say, God, it's great to be alive. It's usually being here. It's, okay, I have a coffee. I got to stop and get coffee. I got to get to work. I'm
Right.
running late.
Right.
It is a very stressful environment.
It is.
And that's where sleep comes in, where we're short, shallow breathers. We don't breathe
Yep.
from the diaphragm.
Exactly.
We are just go, go, go all the time.
Yes.
And then we can't understand why we're not sleeping.
Well, that's very true. And part of my hypnosis technique is that I teach you how to become more aware of the rhythm of your breath.
Brilliant.
You know, and when we started, you're inhaling for 8 seconds, which seems very long when you first start
Yes.
doing it, and then exhaling for 8 seconds.
Absolutely.
And really just concentrate on the rhythm of your breathing. And that prevents a tremendous amount of illness as well in our lives.
Absolutely.
Just
Conscious breathing.
correctly. Yes.
Absolutely. That's
Yes.
brilliant.
So.
Talk to me a little bit about weight loss in your practice, and just start there and we'll work through a couple things.
You know, weight loss obviously is on a lot of people's minds.
Yep.
First thing that I teach the client is that diets do not work. The word diet automatically brings into our thought process starvation,
Right.
and makes us actually want to eat more.
Yes.
So we take diet out of the equation totally. It's not
Absolutely.
about dying, it's about dieting. It's about turning the fat that you have stored on your body and turning it into fuel and energy.
Absolutely.
And it's not about losing weight, because a lot of people lose it, but then they find probably 10 or 15 extra
Yes.
pounds in addition to what they lost because
Absolutely.
of a diet.
Absolutely.
So it's really about reframing your thinking around
Brilliant.
food.
Yes.
We find out what your triggers are. Okay?
Absolutely.
It's not what you're eating, it's why you're eating it.
100%.
So I need to find out if you're eating because you're depressed.
Yep.
It could have been something as simple as maybe your father saying some backhanded, thing when you were a child at the dinner table that stuck
Absolutely.
in your mind when you were 10 years old.
100%.
Not that there was anything intentionally done to you,
Right.
but it could be something that just stayed with you your whole lifetime.
How you interpreted it.
So, exactly.
Yeah,
So it's not always a deep, dark secret. It
Right.
could be something very simple
Right.
that we just need to find out what that core issue is.
Absolutely. When we do our lectures, we tell people, well, the first 3 letters in diet is die.
Right.
So nobody wants to do that.
Exactly.
And it is 100% reframing, a lifestyle, how you live your life as opposed to a diet.
Exactly. So, I work with my clients to work on portion control. You should never want to feel full, because once you feel full, it already means that you've grossly overeaten.
Correct.
So we talk about chewing your food slowly, so that you're enjoying the actual flavor of the food and just not gulping down food.
Absolutely.
And I also talk about the importance of exercise, because really, if you need to lose 20, 30 pounds, you need to eat less and move more.
100% true.
It's not complicated. It's just really retraining a person's thinking
Sure.
to incorporate that in their daily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you had any success with anxiety/depression in that realm?
I have. I was just telling someone at the beginning of the week, I had a client who was very depressed and couldn't get over her mother's passing. And she wanted to be regressed back to the day of her mother's death.
Yes.
And I did that with her and took her through the whole hospital and the funeral, and really reframed her thinking so that she was sure that she did everything that she could have done to have helped her mother.
Yep.
So there are all different kinds of techniques you can use to
Absolutely.
really relieve depression.
Sure.
And find out where that depression is linked to.
Sure. Give me something out of the realm of, let's just talk about chronic disease. Have you seen any cases yourself, or have you read in any of your journals, like work with somebody with diabetes, for example?
I have. I've worked with people with cancer, with diabetes, eating disorders, of course,
Sure.
all things like that. And the way you handle that is through a guided visualization. We use a white healing light. I take the client again into a very deep relaxation,
Sure.
and I teach them how to be able to connect with this higher power,
Sure.
whether you call it God, the universe,
Whatever,
it
yes.
is in your life that you feel
Yep.
comfortable with. And I incorporate that healing technique where you can wash your entire body from head to toe with this healing energy.
Okay, fantastic.
So it's kind of interesting. And,
That is,
and
absolutely.
works quite well.
We as human beings always look to, although we don't want to admit it, to belong to something more than ourselves. This is what fulfills our lives,
Yes.
is when we belong, whether it's a church group or whether it's the Masonic Lodge or whatever it is, a little league. We want to belong to something. And when you can connect the subconscious part to that, I've got to think that's really powerful.
It really is. And I mean, there's so many interesting things that technology has brought into play.
Sure.
Also, there are apps now on your phone. There's Buddhify. There's another app called thereisaway.org. So you could literally on your phone, download an app that could lead you through a guided visualization for 5 minutes during your workday if you're kind of stressed out.
Fascinating.
You would go into your office, put in your earplugs,
Yep.
and just learn to incorporate these little healing things that you can do that are quick and easy in 5
absolutely.
minutes. So there are a
5
lot
minutes of
different-
your day. That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
exactly.
What are those 2 apps again?
One is called Buddhify.
Okay.
And the other one is called thereisaway.org. But
There is
there
a
are
way.
many.
Okay.
We've heard of Wayne Dyer, I'm
Sure,
sure, and
absolutely.
Louise Hay.
Yeah.
And, they all have their different programs and apps that you can download and really find quite healing and very easy to do and to follow.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So now you're still in design?
I still am in design. I'm no longer designing my own line, but I work for a luxury retailer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did that shift happen? How long ago?
We sold our company in 2005.
Okay.
We manufactured, like I said, and
Right.
had factories in Bayonne when Bayonne was a big factory
Yes.
town and a big manufacturing
Absolutely.
town. And I started the company with my wife.
Okay.
And then probably about 10 years into it, we decided to open up our own retail store in Bayonne.
Yes.
We had a few different locations. Our last one was on East 22nd Street, right next to Marie's Coffee Shop.
Yes. Okay.
So we were there for a number of years.
Wonderful.
And then in 2005, I really had a longing of wanting to do something else and
Sure.
something more. So I'm also a writer. I wrote for a local newspaper for a while.
Wonderful.
So I have my hands in a lot of different.
You are a very interesting
Jack
person.
of all trades, I guess, but I find that more interesting than just being in one, one
Oh,
job.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. The one person. So you were looking for a sign back in 2001. You said you didn't know anybody who had done hypnotherapy?
I absolutely did not. And when I first heard about it, I hate anything that sounds quacky
Right.
or, as much as I embrace a lot of new age things,
Yes.
I'm not into crystals or anything that sounds hokey or,
Right.
or spooky or anything like that.
Yep.
And I even, I had trouble with the thought of hypnosis and being a hypnotist, I think, because of what we've seen on TV.
Sure.
With
Sure.
the watch and the pendulum or whatever.
Absolutely.
But the more I looked into it, the more I could really relate to
Yes.
how you can use the power of your mind to manifest your dreams and your goals and your intentions.
Absolutely.
So it really did fit quite well with my belief system.
Wonderful. There's a lot of parallels between hypnotherapy and chiropractic because I said the same thing when I was introduced to chiropractic. I don't want to do that. Those guys are a bunch of quacks.
Right.
And here we are, 17 years later.
Yes.
And it's like, wow, what the work that we do is just brilliant.
It
And
absolutely is.
it flies under the radar. It always
Well,
has.
it's because it's using your body and you're not relying on medication, which
Correct.
so many people are used to. I mean, every commercial you see on television
Yes.
is about medication, and all of those medications have enormous side effects.
True.
If people could learn more, and I think it is becoming more widely acceptable, the power of our own consciousness
Absolutely.
and our subconscious.
Absolutely.
And like chiropractic and
Yep.
different healing and acupuncture.
And acupuncture,
and things
yes.
we can do to
Absolutely.
not have to turn to medicine always.
Speaking of the subconscious, I was clearing out some space in my desk the other day, and I have written goals basically since I was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual physical act of writing
Absolutely.
is
Very important.
I found goals from 30 years ago and hit every single goal
Yeah.
that I had written down.
Yes.
It's just
It's amazing.
it really is.
And that's the power of your subconscious too.
100% true.
And I tell clients to keep a journal. Write down
Yes.
5 things before you go to sleep at night. Keep it on your bedside.
Yes.
I always have something right on my night table, my wife would tell you, of something I'm trying to manifest
Yes.
into my life. And
Absolutely.
I've never been disappointed.
that's brilliant.
It's really, it's amazing. And it's so simple to do.
So simple. When I'm adjusting a patient on the table, I ask them right before I deliver the adjustment, think of something that you're grateful for, because it automatically changes their state.
It does.
As
Your whole
opposed
physiology.
to, their physiology. As opposed to think of something that you're happy for.
Mm-hmm.
There's a definitive difference between being happy and being grateful. And I ask them, and I think that changes their physiological state at that moment. And then delivering that adjustment has the greatest potential.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting, the things that you're saying,
Yeah.
and how they really coalesce with what we do in our practice as well.
Yes, it really is.
So we have a little bit of time left. Tell me a little bit more about hypnotherapy. Tell me some of the things that people don't know about it.
Well, I can give you an example. Have you ever been driving in your car and you're so deep in thought that you've passed your destination by 10 blocks?
Happened 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you didn't crash your car and you
Right.
didn't kill anybody, thank God.
Right.
But you were so lost in thought.
Yes.
Okay, that's a form of hypnosis.
Okay. Yep.
So, it's the same, it's no different than what I do with the client. It's just getting them into such a deep form of relaxation
Sure.
that they're able to then accept these new intentions and suggestions as their reality.
Yep.
And again, it can be used for anything, improving test scores, improving your memory,
Sure.
sports.
Yep.
I've worked with clients who had sexual dysfunction. I've worked with, like I said, people who wanted to improve their game.
Sure.
All different things like that. And the best part is that the client doesn't even have to believe in it,
Right.
which
Right.
is amazing too.
It
Because
is
I've
amazing.
had people tell me point blank who have come to me for smoking cessation.
Sure.
Who, one friend of mine was a recovering alcoholic, so he drank a ton of coffee and smoked 3 or 4 packs a day.
Right.
And was like, and now it was becoming a health issue, and he needed to stop.
Sure.
But he point blank told me, I don't believe in it. One visit, and he has never smoked again.
Ever.
Ever.
That's
I
brilliant.
had
That's
another
amazing.
friend one visit. Now, that's not always the case.
No.
I'm not going to say it is.
Absolutely.
But it has that possibility
Sure.
of having that kind of effect over your life immediately. Whereas like traditional therapy or psychotherapy
Yes.
is week after week, and you're
Yes.
going for 10 years, and you really never get to the core issue a lot
Absolutely.
of times. With hypnosis, you can kind of really zero in on it
Yes.
very quickly.
Right.
And see change
And like you said,
immediately.
because you're accessing the subconscious, you're getting to the root of the issue. You're
Yes.
bypassing all of the stuff,
Yes.
and you're able to get into the root cause
Exactly.
of what that is,
Yes.
whatever
Yes.
that is.
Yes.
Like you said, it doesn't need to be some big traumatic event. It could be some offhanded comment your father made when you were 10.
Right.
It's that. Talk to me a little bit about, and this is just a little sidebar, but the music that you use during your sessions, is it like Gregorian or is it Baroque music?
No, I usually try to do something very soft. I've also used a lot of CDs that have nature sounds, which
Okay.
I love that too.
Yep.
So, and part of what I do with my client when you come into me, I need to know what does it for you? Where is that relaxing, safe place
Yes.
for you? A lot of people, it's the ocean or the beach.
The ocean,
or
yeah,
the
absolutely.
mountains with their beautiful streams. So
Yep.
I try to know exactly where that spot is for you.
Yes.
So that I can take you there, so that you're
Brilliant. I
surrounded
love
by
it.
that safety.
Absolutely.
So it's really
That's fantastic. I
Yeah.
can remember when I went to school in Georgia, there was no water near Georgia. Like, there's no ocean. We're in the middle of the state.
Right.
And I bought a sound machine that would play the ocean.
we had the same thing in our bedroom, and
Yeah.
you can get it at Brookstone for
Right.
probably $20 and hear the rain or
Yes.
whatever. And that's a great point, because when you do go to bed at night, you want to be able to clear all of your thoughts.
Yes.
So a lot of times we'll put it on.
Yep.
And just really start calming your mind from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. And when you wake up in the morning, also, don't just jump out of your bed. You
Yep.
know, try to give yourself 5 minutes where you can really clear your thoughts, concentrate
Sure.
on the intentions that you want to bring into your day.
Yep.
And
Brilliant.
it's a great
I
way
love it.
to start your day, rather
Yep.
than just jump up and get into the shower.
That is great.
Yeah.
And that's what I do to start my day. I think about what I'm grateful for.
Right.
I visualize my day. I say affirmations and also profirmations just to get ready for the day.
Yeah, because sometimes it's not easy to get through the day. and this is a perfect way to surround
Sure.
yourself with positivity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really does
Absolutely.
change your whole way of living.
Well, Keith, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
It was a
Thanks
pleasure
so
to be
much
here. Thank you.
for coming. I'm sure we'll be able to have you on the show again some point in time.
Sounds great. I'd love to be back.
If anybody would like Keith's information, you can call our office, 201-858-0444, and we'd be glad to pass you along the line to Keith. Thanks so much. Have a
Sounds
great
great.
day.
Thank you.
Great, Keith. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.